welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. Open mic number 228, 228. Hope everyone's doing good today. And we're going to jump back into Gregory Allen, part two. Looking at Gregory Allen, there's so much. There's just so much. And what I mean by that, so much information that others have gathered over the last several years. Anyway, I want to say hello to Susan.
Hey, Jack. Well, he was
Hey,
a prolific offender, Gregory.
he
So,
was.
yeah,
He was
very
very
prolific.
prolific. Yeah, we
Indeed.
talked about this. Go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay. Well, we talked about this last time, wasn't last week, this week before. In part one, this guy. Tonight, kind of what I wanted to do is summarize and then dive into kind of where we left off, mid 80s, early 90s, and then move forward of what we know. And we wouldn't know this if it wasn't for some of the backstory. Seeking Truth for Good got some of the original documentation on Gregory Allen. One was a 600 plus page, it's like 650 page report from the Green Bay Police Department that got compiled over the years. We literally had no idea. I mean, we knew he was bad because of what we found out that happened through the 80s, and Gregory Allen got brought up, and his.
And just look what he did to Penny. I mean,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. That's how his name got brought into it, and then Seeking Truth. Others did it too, but Seeking Truth was the first one that got us this massive document. That's just a compilation of reports over the years. There was a detective that began tracking Allen's movements over the years throughout basically the eastern part of the United States. But he did travel to the Midwest, and what I mean, I'm in the Midwest in Michigan, but I mean like Nebraska. He even made it out to California a couple of times that we know of.
Georgia,
What we did,
Texas.
Georgia, yep,
I mean,
Alabama.
Kansas. I think he's in Kansas.
That's right, he was.
He was all over
He
the
was.
place.
And we don't know what crimes he may have committed, and I think that was the track that this detective was on. But I think that got shut down. I don't really know. But why track this guy all over the country if you weren't going to start looking deeper into what he may have done in these other locations?
Yeah. And it's not like, somebody like that will just stop doing what they're so obsessed with,
They
for
won't. They won't. They
a
won't.
while. So God knows how many victims he's got, but all
They won't
over the
stop.
country,
They absolutely will not stop. We know this for a fact. And he didn't. If he was out and not in jail, this guy was not going to stop. So,
One track.
with that, well, he was a predator. There's just no doubt about it. This guy was a predator.
Yep.
In every sense of the word. And then, of course, that
Right.
yeah, she's in there playing, and I mean,
How
she's
old
two.
is she?
She's two. She'll be three on July 4th.
My goodness. Time flies,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah, same day as my dad.
Cool.
Same birthday. Same birthday.
4th of July?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, Allen was so prolific throughout his life. He was not going to stop unless he was locked up. We don't know what kind of problems he's had in prison, but I can't imagine that he's not had some problems inside prison. I don't know that, so It's just it's just because he didn't seem to really go after guys. It was really young girls and teenage girls, and then of course adult women, which that's what ultimately got him convicted. But I'm going to pull up this first document and we can look at it. And this is going to be from the from Penny's case, and looking at what he did. Get it pulled up over here. And this is where Vogel basically is talking to these officers, Jeffrey Tech and Detective who the hell it
Hank
Hank
Ospedale.
Ospedale. Yeah, we've definitely heard about Ospedale. This letter is dated in '86, and we know for a fact that Dennis Vogel left his post in '86 and went into private practice. He left Manitowoc, and I've always found that I've just
Very
always found it
odd.
strange. Well,
Yeah.
I do. I mean,
Yeah.
why not sort about the remainder of your term? If you're going to leave, that's fine.
I
mean,
just
unless somebody
noticed this is close to the time that Stephen did the thing with what's her name, pulling her over on the road. Oh, help me, Jack.
What are you talking about? Explain
When
it.
Stephen
Give me.
pulled his cousin over on the road, he forced her off the road, and
Yeah, that was a year earlier.
I thought that was 80. Oh, okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was
No,
January '85.
That's right.
January?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I get it.
What's
It's
her
easy to
name,
get.
darn it?
Oh, Sandra Morris.
Sandra Morris. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a year later. This is after Stephen's already in prison.
So if you can see that, okay, Susan, you wanna read that?
Sure. Officers Jeffrey Tech and Detective Hank Ospedale, Manitowoc City Police Department, State v. Greg Allen. Gentlemen, please be advised that Mr. Allen came to my office again today, denying any wrongdoing and stating that he was not involved in this incident. He presented to me a statement from a redacted and a notice from Weyerhaeuser indicating that employees do not wear tennis shoes and must wear leather shoes, claiming that is what he was wearing on this occasion. My only question would be, are we all certain that it is Mr. Allen that was seen, quote unquote, prowling, which resulted in him being charged with disorderly conduct? In reviewing the reports, it seems clear that Officer Tech can identify Mr. Allen, but I just want to make sure that that is the case. Thank you sincerely, Dennis Vogel.
There you go. Well, this guy Vogel, and I can't put myself in his position. I can't, as much as I'd like to. But why he continued to basically defend this guy, knocking down charges, and I could show all that. We've showed it before, and all this available where, and I won't say class A felonies, but certainly class, C or D, however it goes in the statute, he would get charged with, and then it gets knocked down to a misdemeanor. He'd pay a $500 fine or $300 fine, and
he got out of a lot of prison.
He did. That's right. A lot of times he wouldn't have to serve any jail at all. He'd pay the fine and move on.
Yeah. Do you see Travis's question there, Chad?
I haven't. Travis. Well, I saw him put it up, but I haven't read it yet. You want to read that?
Sure. He's asking, anyone know what, if anything, happened with criminal charges on Allen after it was confirmed he was the real perpetrator of the Penny Brainstein attack.
Well, I think we have some documentation, but basically at that point in Wisconsin, the statute of limitations had ran out and they didn't do anything.
Nothing. No charges brought.
No charges.
He's in
because
prison, although he's
Right.
eligible for parole. I think he's been up once or twice to the parole board and hasn't gotten out. But,
Yeah, I think it'd be, if he's still physically able to get around, I think he would be a menace.
hope to God. Yeah, he's in his, I would say, early 70s. He was born in
He 54.
54. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
so he's right around 70. Maybe 70
If he's
this year, I
54,
guess.
he'd be 70 this year. That's exactly right. Yeah, he'd be 70. So
Yeah,
you
for
know,
some people, anymore, that's not decrepit. For a lot of people.
depending on how his prison life has went,
I
can
mean, I'm
certainly
not so
age.
far away from that myself.
I feel you,
I'm
sister.
nowhere near decrepit.
I feel you. I don't
Yeah.
feel it, but understanding.
A couple years
that,
behind me.
I
Yeah,
definitely got more years behind me than I probably got in front of me. So
right.
but I don't,
I don't want him
necessarily
getting
feel.
out of prison.
No,
I don't care how old he is.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
James Kring says they have some kind of relationship. This probably has something to do with how things are run. Well, it certainly seems that way. It's the implication. I
does.
don't want to put out the innuendo, but something. It sure it
Either
comes
that
across
or Gregory had the goods on him somehow. Something.
I agree.
Something. Yeah. This is
I don't know
not
how it can be.
typical
No,
DA behavior. Trying
no.
to discourage the detectives and officers to be sure you've got the right guy now. He says he wasn't wearing tennis shoes. I mean, come on.
Well, okay. Glad to hear it, but at the same time, it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, again, tied around this 1985 case, there was another attack on that same, about a mile away from where Penny was attacked, on that same stretch of Manitowoc Beach at Lake Michigan, in '83. I can't remember the date. I think it was maybe. Well, I don't want to say.
Summertime.
It was warmer. It was warm weather. It wasn't like, nobody goes jogging on the beach in the winter and on Lake Michigan, as far as I know. It gets pretty cold, and you got of course, the wind coming off the lake anyway. So, and that didn't seem to be considered at all. For however that, right,
well,
and I don't know how.
That's the reason one of the big reasons, that they knew exactly who did this.
Well,
or, had to at least suspect him and bring him in for questioning,
Well, he
put him in the lineup,
He had an incident in June of '85. There were some other things that happened, and then these Manitowoc City Police detectives and officers were well aware of him appearing to ramp up his prevalence in the region. So much so that it was recommended that they keep somewhat of a surveillance on him. That happened about 2 weeks prior to Penny getting attacked. Now, remember, we listened to that podcast a few weeks ago where Penny talked about this specifically. And on that particular day, they were busy. They got called away. They couldn't really keep too close of tabs on him. However things went down, we'll never truly know. on
What
that
a
day. Some people,
coincidence.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, some people feel like that this is an intentional thing. I can't
Well,
say that. Well, I can't say that for
well, of
sure.
course we can't say it for sure, but you know, it's
Seems odd,
definitely a
and I,
possibility.
yeah,
The
it's
way
definitely
things
an oddity.
look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we know how this turned out. Stephen gets convicted. Mogul, this is around. Actually, this is around. I think trial time for
I wonder
Avery. I
what
can't remember.
happened to this case that he's referring to here.
I don't know. I've never dove off into whatever this is referring to. I don't know. I don't know if there's actually any more information about it other than there may be a police report from Allen about Allen and this prowling incident from December or January, December '85, January '86. I don't know, but I would imagine there probably is.
Yeah.
That detective in Green Bay was pretty thorough. So anyway, Avery goes on trial sometime there, I think, in the earlier part of '86. And of course, he gets convicted of that, along with his, and rightfully so. He should have been served some jail time for what he did to Sandra Morris, despite whatever she had done, gaslighting him, or however that all went down.
But it's also said that if the Penny incident, he wasn't charged with that, and it was only the Sandra Morris, more than likely he would not have gotten 6 years. He would have done some time, but probably not 6 years.
Probably not. I'm guessing more like 3 or 4.
Yeah, it was enhanced because of him.
Yes,
It's just
that's right.
it's up there.
That's right. That's right. Okay, then we move forward. There were some other, um, I guess, more minor incidents, but I don't really call them minor, of him prowling, which we know when he's prowling, he's trying to, you know, get on some young girl or some teenager woman. He's going to try to have his way. And then, of course, we know we've talked pretty significantly about Alan moving around in different areas. Now, a lot of people, and I didn't know this until basically what Sunshine Christina brought forward. I just had never paid attention. But now, Hennepin County, Minnesota, is of course west of Manitowoc and Calumet and all that. I think about 4 hours or so, and it's right across the line on the eastern part of Minnesota. So it's a 3 or 4 hour drive, whatever.
So it's okay.
Alan was born there. That's where he's from originally. I didn't know that for a long time.
From Minnesota, right?
Yes, that's right. That's where he was originally born. However, that went down that he got down to North Carolina, whatever. We don't know all the details, but he certainly was in North Carolina for many years. And of course, he became a suspect in the death of that young teenager, along with another guy that was there in
Right.
a drug kind of drug trade area. But then, of course, he fled the state and came north. Late '70s, early '80s time frame. And then, of course, he began his ways almost immediately. It's just this guy, whatever is warped in his brain, certainly happened at a younger age. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah,
Whatever
he
went on.
just continued his ways. Yeah.
Well, definitely to me, something definitely happened in his formative years growing up. So anyway, let's move forward. Now I'm going to put up a document. Now I'm going to tell you, these documents I'm going to start showing, these were all obtained by Sunshine Christina, and I was absolutely gobsmacked when she found out all this. She's such an excellent researcher. When she gets something in her teeth that she feels she's
Oh
right
boy.
about, yeah, you can just fuck right off because she's not going to let it go. She's just not.
He's on it. Yeah.
She is on it. until she gets somebody's not going to help her, period. Then even then she might not let it go. She may try a different track to get the information she feels that is out there. Anyway, there are several reports attached to this incident. Let me get it pulled over here. If this is the right one. Yeah. So this is where we're going to begin in 91. And so this goes back again to Allen traveling around, whatever. He heads back over to Hennepin County for however long that he was there.
Minnesota. Yeah.
And Hennepin County, Minnesota. And of course, they didn't know it at the time, but this woman gets attacked. And you can see it under the incident CSC, criminal sexual conduct. Is the date 6/1/93. Now, this report here is 74 pages. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going through it all. We're just not. But the first part of it, Susan, I mean, I can help you read if you want, but you're such a better reader of documents than I am. You're so good at it. Now, listen, I don't want to know this woman's name. She should be protected. She was attacked, brutally attacked, and had the hell beat out of her and sexually assaulted. Her identity should be protected from the public. I understand about freedom of information and the First Amendment. I get it. At the same time, she has rights to her privacy. We don't need to know her name. We don't.
Right.
It isn't. And I don't want to make her faceless and take that away. But she deserves her privacy. And I would hope that anyone that picks up on this or whatever would respect that. Anyway, if you could read, I don't know, we'll go through a little bit of this in the beginning because it's going to tell about what happened in this attack. And keep in mind that Dennis Vogel and Sheriff Tom Kasurek let this predator go. And they had to know he was involved with the Penny Bernstein attack. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that between 85 and 91 that he did this to someone else that never got connected.
You know
I would not be shocked at all. So anyway, you want to read some of this? I'll scroll.
Sure. On June 1st, 1991, at 12:24 a.m., I responded to 1328 Northeast Lake Street, number 336, on a report of a CSC. I arrived on the scene and was led into the apartment by the victim. The victim was hysterical and crying when she let me into the apartment, and she said that she had been raped. She immediately went into her mother's bedroom and woke her mother up. She briefly told her mother what had happened. Her mother comforted her daughter so that she was eventually able to regain her composure and give me a brief account of the sexual assault. She said she returned home from Archie's Bar in Hopkins at about 1:30 a.m. She said she double locked and chained the front door that leads to the apartment hallway. She said that the patio screen door was closed, but that the door is not locked. She said that the glass door was open and unlocked. She said that prior to going to bed, she closed the door to her mother's bedroom where her mother was sleeping. Her mother's bedroom is right next to her own bedroom. She said she went to bed at approximately 1:45. At about 2:30 a.m., she was awakened by the suspect, who placed his left hand over her mouth and put a knife to her throat with the other hand. The suspect said, quote, "Don't fight it." Said, "He didn't really press the knife against me. It was just there." She said she was not injured by the knife, and I checked her neck area and did not find any injury. The suspect said to him, I spent all my money on crack cocaine, so I needed some money, and I saw you. Oh, the suspect said to her, okay, spent all my money on crack. Well, there you go. I needed some money, and I saw you. She told the suspect that she would cooperate with him if he would set the knife down. She said that she talked the suspect into putting the knife down on a plant stand that was located on the left side of the bed. She said that the suspect was lying on top of her and that he had a hold of her by the arms. She said that she was eventually able to scoop herself up so that she was sitting with her back against the wall at the head of the bed with the suspect laying on her legs. The suspect asked her to take her clothes off and to suck me off. She told the suspect, no, I don't do that. I did not go into any details about the sexual assault because I was instructed by Detective Klingbeil to take her down to the Hennepin County Medical Center for a sexual assault exam. She did say that the suspect forced her to have oral sex with him and that he did ejaculate inside her. She said that he was wearing the same clothes, or she was wearing the same clothes that she had on now prior to the assault. Officer Malone arrived at the scene to await the arrival of Hennepin County Crime Lab while I transported her and her mother to the Hennepin County Medical Center for the sexual assault exam. At the Hennepin County Medical Center, I spoke with her mother, who said that she was not awakened by any noises throughout the night. After the completion of the sexual assault examination, I took custody of the clothes she was wearing prior to the assault from RN from the nurse. These clothes included a pair of women's underwear, a black pair of nylon shorts, and a black nylon style bra. She also gave me a picture that she had taken of Blank and the sexual assault kit. I transported both she and her mother to the Hopkins Police Department, where they were both interviewed by investigator Klingbeil. I placed the photo and clothing in the bin number 7 of the Hopkins evidence locker and placed the sexual assault kit into the evidence refrigerator.
There you go. Now,
He likes to sneak in and lay on top of women. I've heard the same story before. It's the same MO.
That's exactly right.
It's just horrifying.
It is. They
so
didn't.
He was crystal meth. Is that what he said?
Yeah, or crack.
Crack cocaine. That's what it was.
Yeah, that was a big thing then. Give me some crack. But this officer was instructed not to go too far into what happened.
Right.
They have their procedures of how they do things, and that's fine. I don't really have an issue with this officer not digging too deep into the details.
Sure, she gave him the basics. Yeah,
she did.
Even a little more than
that. She did say, he forced her to have oral sex, and it's just terrible. Yeah. If you go through this report, this goes through, and it goes through time, because they didn't know. Of course, they did. It was Gregory Allen at the time. They had no earthly idea who it was.
And the year was 91, so DNA was a thing by then. It was early, but
it was very early. That's right, but it was a thing. CODIS hadn't been established yet. A lot of things we take for granted was not in place at that time,
Right.
not yet.
I think CODIS started in 94, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like 94, 95. That's I think you're exactly right.
The very first rollout was just kind of an experiment. I think it's in 94.
Well, yeah, and not all states were signed, onto that system. They couldn't,
Yeah.
just necessarily asset it.
I believe we're looking for the 7 states before state of Washington.
You're really far away, Susan. Barely hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's get some water. Yeah, I think they started with 7 states. The very first.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it
then
was
expanded it.
well, yeah, and of course, as more states got signed into the system, more samples could be submitted for DNA profiles to be available across the country. Um, anyway,
So
you
anyway,
can,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, you can go through this report. I never had any intention of going through and reading all 74 pages
Right.
of this document. Goes talks about the lab being there. And it just continues on. I think they called the K9 in units to try to track this guy that attacked her.
Because he used a kitchen knife from the apartment and
That
left it under the bed.
that's right. That's right. So, and one of Allen's MOs was to take a shirt or a pair of underwear and tie it across the top of his head and sometimes his face.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a drawing that did get created out of this. I'm going to pull up another document here in a minute. We'll get to see it. Anyway, these documents are available in the library. I'm pretty sure they are. I'll say that, but I didn't even look. I just have my own copy. I've had it
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all these documents are available, and they're like I said, there are a lot of. They were very thorough. Hennepin County Sheriff's Department. They were extremely thorough in their reporting and their investigation, very detailed. They talked to other suspects in the area. As you go through here, you can read about that. And a lot of the names now were redacted as far as who any suspect was, but they still talked. People were clearly named. If you go through and read this, that weren't Gregory Allen, because they didn't know.
And they never did find him until much later, right?
Much later. And now I didn't specifically look for that in this document, but in '99 we have it somewhere. I could have found it, but we can summarize it because it's relatively easy. It's also in another document that we're going to pull up here in a minute. In '99, this detective opened this cold case because it was still, it was unsolved in '99, and decided to take a look at it, ran the DNA profile, and got a hit, and found out through CODIS. Of course, CODIS was pretty well established by this point, 8 years later. Found out that it was Gregory Allen, and then, of course, upon further digging, found out that he had been convicted in '96 of this, horrific assault, a sexual assault on this other woman in Wisconsin, and he's serving 60 years. He's sitting in Waupun prison, right? Was Waupun at the time. I think he got moved several times, but I think at the time he was in Waupun. Anyway, I'm going to get off this document here. We're going to go to another document.
So he found out they I guess through CODIS, it matched Gregory in '99, right?
That's right. That's
and
right.
this detective just he found out he was in prison and he just put it back in the file, right? Like
Well,
he
we
didn't
we don't
inform the
we don't
victim.
we well, I was reading through some of this documentation, and the officer that wrote these later reports talked like this detective thought that he did inform the victim, but there's nothing, there's no statements specifically directed about the contacting the victim. So it appears that they didn't.
Well, she
Now,
herself says they didn't, correct?
correct. That's right.
Until like
That's
what, 03 or something?
No, it was '05, and we're going to get to
Oh, it
that.
was 05? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So as you can see here, if you can read it, it's kind of hard to read. This says September 5th, uh, 2005. And of course, we know by September 5th, 2005, we're deep into the depositions in Manitowoc County. Avery's
Right.
taken this massive lawsuit filed in October of 2004, suing the hell out of Manitowoc County because of what he claims that happened within the sheriff's department, that he got screwed, and it is what it is. So anyway, and I was wrong about. I've been broadcasting this date. I don't know why I had it in my head. I had it in my brain that this really began in May of 2005. I'm talking about the Hennepin County investigation and what they found. It was actually April, and we're going to get to that here in a minute. I'm going to have you read some more. It's not. We're not going to read this entire document now. This is only 4 pages. This is the a shorter version, but this
So
talks
is
about
this
state.
the warrant for him, what you have on the screen right now? But
Yeah, but it gives some
September
information.
22nd of 05, right?
Yeah, but this is the actual arrest warrant. I think this is what this one is. Yeah, you can see it here.
Okay.
If you look down below, serious felony is checked, warrant is checked.
This is the complaint. Uh-huh.
Correct. So I want to have you read some of this because it gives some history here. Let me blow this up a little bit more so you can probably see it, but I need some new eyes. There we go. Now I can see it.
Complainant, Detective Raymond Laudenbach of the Hopkins Police Department, has reviewed relevant police reports and believes that the following information establishes probable cause. On June 1st of 1991, a known adult female, then known as redacted, was sexually assaulted in her Hopkins, Hennepin County home. 22-year-old victim was sleeping in her bed at 2 a.m. in the morning when she was awoke by a hand being placed over her mouth and a knife from her own kitchen being placed on her throat. A man unknown to her was holding the knife. She asked him what he wanted, and he said he was there to get money for crack cocaine. He told her that once he saw how beautiful she was, he decided he wanted more than that. He took his shirt off and told her he wanted oral sex. She told him she would not do that. She convinced the man to put the knife down. He began kissing her neck and telling her how beautiful she was. Jesus. He touched her breasts and removed her pants and underwear. The man then climbed on top of her and had sexual intercourse with her. He repeatedly told her he was sorry they had to meet this way and not under different circumstances. The defendant then left. Investigation revealed that the man entered through a patio door that was unlocked. The knife was left near her bed. She underwent a sexual assault examination, which revealed the presence of semen. While a number of suspects were developed over the years, no one was identified as her assailant. In 1999, the Minnesota BCA determined that the DNA in the sperm collected during the sexual assault examination matched the DNA profile in the blood sample taken from defendant Gregory Allen. The defendant is an inmate serving a 60-year sentence for second-degree sexual assault, burglary, and kidnapping at the Wisconsin Correctional Institute in Waupun, Wisconsin. After securing a search warrant and a buccal sample, complainant submitted the known DNA sample to the BCA in 2005. Testing revealed a match between the DNA in defendant's known sample and the DNA from the sperm. Why'd that take 6 years? In addition,
Well,
yeah. In addition to the offenses in Wisconsin, the defendant's criminal history includes a Minnesota simple robbery conviction in 1971. The defendant was a juvenile. Felony possession of marijuana from North Dakota in 1976, and battery of a police officer in Wisconsin in 1987. The defendant is currently in custody in Waupun, Wisconsin. He was taken into custody on October 25th, 1995, and has been in custody in Wisconsin since that date. You want me to keep going?
no, you don't, not on this one. We're going to read a little bit more here in a minute, but it gives
So-
into the. Go ahead.
So they matched him in 99.
Yep.
And they didn't get his DNA to direct DNA from him until 2005.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to get to that, but this is the charges and the warrant. This is the warrant that was signed by a judge in September of 2005, and it gives the complaints of the offense, 2 counts of.
2 first-degree felonies.
Yeah, that's right. And then there's a burglary charge. If we move on to the next page, first-degree burglary. Yeah. So. Anyway, it's September 2005. I don't know if there's a date. The date's probably before. You can see on the left there. The date is probably.
You know what's interesting? That last one that showed September 22nd, 2005. That I think that was the warrant. Or you had that warrant before. That's the date that Stephen got out of prison in
2003.
Yes, September 22nd specifically.
No, he got out before then. He got out like the 10th. Yeah, he got out like the 10th or the 11th, if I remember.
Oh, maybe it was the 11th. I'm sorry. I knew it was.
Yeah.
Okay. It was either the 11th or the 22nd. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you've talked to me about that numerology stuff about 11 and 22, and it's freaky.
Exactly.
It is freaky. So anyway, this is the warrant. Shows the judge, Patricia L. Bellows. So there's that, and then we're going to move to this next document. I'll blow this up, and I think this is the booking.
Look at the date.
Yeah, this is the booking. If you can see over on the left, it's 12/13/2007. This is when they finally served the warrant on Allen. They went. I've got it may be in that long document. I'll go over there and scroll down. I think it may be in that one. That, like I said, there are so many documents associated with this particular case, well over a dozen. And anyway, it's not extremely important to for the summary.
Now, did he just plead guilty to this, or?
Well, they worked out a plea. They worked out a deal.
Okay. Okay.
He was charged and he was given time, but he was able to serve it concurrently with his
Oh
sentence.
my
And
God.
yeah, that's right. He was able to serve it concurrently. This is him in 2007.
Ugh.
Yep, that's right. Of course, much shorter hair than what he used to wear it in the 80s and 90s. Um,
Yeah, he went in prison in 95, so he's been in there for 10, 12 years.
at that point, yeah, something like that. 95 to 7. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. This is when they went and got him for extradition and brought him back to Hennepin County to face these charges. I think there was $1 million bail set, bond, or whatever they call it.
I'm sorry we couldn't have met under other circumstances, something like that.
Yeah, you're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. I just
Oh,
had to break. I just had to come walk into your house and hold a knife at your throat and attack you.
yeah. I really just wanted money, but oh my gosh, you're pretty. Let me
Yeah,
rape you.
yeah. Let me elevate this to like 1,000,000 times more than it needed to be. Kind of makes you think he really wasn't after the money.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you look over here to the right, disposition of the case occurred that worked out in April of 2008 after he was served, or served with warrant in December of 2007. So basically, in about 4 months, they worked it out. I can't remember what ridiculously low amount of time he got for this. That he got to serve his time
Really,
concurrently.
the most important thing was he wasn't served with it until after Stephen and Brendan's
Well,
trials were over
that's
with,
right.
right?
That's right. And that's the key thing. Let me pop back over here. I'm going to take this off the screen for just a second because I don't want to have to. I don't make people sick by scrolling through a bunch of documents. Because I'm going to see if I can find what I
Thank you.
want to show here. Yeah. Well, I don't want just a bunch of pages scrolling by. Let's see if I can find this here right quick. I mean, this long document, the 74-page document, it goes through years. It's not because they were still trying to investigate, as I said, and they're talking to other people, other suspects, right? Bringing them in, talking to them, phone calls, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see here. This was. Yeah, this is a statement of who the hell that person is, identified as police officer. Yeah, this is that's not what I'm looking for. Sorry. I'm looking at this.
Okay. There's a lot to wait through.
There is a lot to wade through. And this, I mean, the one we just went through there was a short version of this document. Yeah, here we go. I think this might be what I'm looking for. No sample. Yeah, nope, that's the same. This is part of the short version. Yeah, okay. This is the drawing. Let me pop this back on. This is part of what I've scrolled to so far. I'll pop this back on for a second. This is the drawing that the victim in Hennepin County came up with, the Gregory Allen.
Doesn't really look like them, does it?
Not entirely. I think they probably got the hair right in a few of the features, but no, not really. I mean, his face is not wide enough. But again, I can't even imagine being on being a woman and facing what she went through and trying to remember what this person looked like. Instead of trying to block the horrible memory out of your brain. I can't. It's hard for me to put that in perspective. Not Really, it is. I mean, just because of the nature of man and woman, you know,
You compare that to the pencils drawing.
oh my God, the tracing, his tracing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jean Cachet was something else. I'll bet you the person that drew this has drawn many more. I'd bet on it.
Yeah.
I'd bet real money. I will pop this off and scroll just a little bit more here in this other document to see if I can find what I'm looking for. That's not it. Okay. Okay. Not in that document. That's why it won't scroll any further. September. Yeah, this other part. I mean, this longer document's got a deposition in it.
A detective.
Yeah, there's just so much information. Again, it talks about it goes into other suspects that they talk to in this case.
Mhm.
So, all right, let me look over here in this other my folder here. I've got some
So
other.
it said that he was in prison from a 1986 attack. Was that right? When he finally got caught?
When Allen got caught, it was
Yeah.
it was October, September or October of '95 when he was arrested, and he got convicted in '96 when he went to trial.
Oh, 96.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. That's right.
Right.
So let's see here. Gregory Allen.
So he had 11 years after he attacked Penny, or 10 years, whatever, uh, to offend how many women?
Just tons.
That'll be.
Um, that's
That's
the
what Vogel
sentencing.
and Kasorik gave him. They gave
Well, yeah,
him
yeah.
10 years of.
Basically, and again, we don't know what all else he may have done. And I
Right.
suspect his action or activity did not stop. I don't believe
But
it.
they gave him that 10 years to do whatever he pleased to do.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. Sorry, I got a text here I got to take care of. All right. Anyway, let's look here. That's the short version. Got that one up.
Concurrent time. What bullshit is that?
Well, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm gonna pull this one up to see.
Two separate incidents. I mean, makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't really understand what they're thinking. I just don't. I just don't get it. We already got that one up. I'm not going to look much further here. I promise, guys. We're going to move on.
So he's only done like not even half of 60 years. And he's
Not since
already been
90.
up for parole.
Right. So if he was sentenced in 96, this is 2024. So that's
28
24,
years.
28 years. So, yeah, he's not even at the 30-year mark. This,
And he's
I mean, to
already been
me,
up for parole.
they can't let that guy out. They just can't. Let's see if this one's it. No, that's not it either. All right, I'm going to stop looking. Regardless, the fact is that I'll just summarize it. It'll be good enough.
Yeah.
We've got the documents. I just don't have it pulled up. Anyway, regardless of the fact, in April of 2005, the victim that I guess had called to try to find out, guys know anything about my case? What's going on? And this new detective opened up the case file. And of course,
this
they started
happened
reading.
in 91, right?
The case happened in 91, the attack.
Wow.
So in April of 2005, this phone call happened. This new detective starts looking through the case file and sees that Allen was a match in 99, and basically nothing was done. Nothing. For whatever reason. So they elevate it, take it to, I guess, their superior, whatever the process was, and I guess gets
In
to the
April
prosecutor. That's right.
of 05.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I promise you, we've got the documentation. So in May, and actually, I think it was just about a week before the depositions actually began in Avery's civil trial. I'll get you the date here, I promise. Where's that at? Yeah, right here. May 12th, 2005. If you guys remember, Amy Lehman and Deb Strauss were the first ones to give their depositions in the
Yeah.
Avery civil depositions. That was May 12th. So it was about, I think it was May 4th or May 5th. The judge signed the order to go get Avery's or Allen's DNA, which they did. This detective contacted someone, whatever county, in Wisconsin, to go collect Allen's DNA. He goes there and reads him his rights and so forth, shows him the warrant, and they do a buckle swab. He asked Allen, look, you want to talk to us about this? Allen refused to talk. He says, no, not interested. So that detective, gets his samples and leaves, travels back to Minnesota, submits it to their lab for analysis and comparison. It was a match. They found that out, and again, very quick. It was pretty quick, in 2005. And then I think maybe it was June or July when the actual results came back. I can't remember exactly. It's
So it
irrelevant.
was before Teresa went missing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was in the height of the civil. It was in. The judge signed the warrant, as you saw. I had pulled up. I can pull that back up in September of
September
2005.
22nd. Uh-huh.
So this goes
All
to
right.
the issue here now, and I guess this is more of the final point for me. This was all known by Wisconsin state authorities. It had to be. This had to shake rattle the tree. It had to, because they knew. There's no doubt that Peg and I'm sure many of her lieutenants were well aware of what was going on in the Avery civil trial and what they were trying to do. What was Glenn and Kelly's main goal? Find out about who knew about Greg Allen and when did they know it. That was their
Right.
goal. It was virtually every person they deposed. Every one of them. So for them to keep this information on the down low, I think they felt like they had to do it. That's just my opinion, of course. But then they begin to think about who all actually did know. Did this information reach far enough down the chain that a person like Tom Fallon knew about it, or even Ken Kratz? I don't know that, guys. I'm not trying to create any innuendo that they did know, but I have to wonder how high the stakes were. because I feel like that with any decent investigative reporter, they would have found this information out back then. What, Sunshine Christina eventually found out about this attack, this cold case, and basically no one heard about it. No one. Now, look, I'm sure we're going to get every opinion under the sun, and that's fine. I'm prepared for that, or I wouldn't say this. Would it have mattered if this had hit the news, this cold case? Let's just say in September of 91. Would it have mattered?
September
Personally, I
of
think
05, you mean?
I said 91. September of 2005.
Yeah.
There were several depositions that occurred in September, and then of course there was a bunch that happened in October of 05.
Well, I certainly think it would have been newsworthy, seeing what was going on at the time, to report on that in the press.
Well, knowing, I mean, I don't, it's hard for me to put this down like a math problem and then be able to work it out exactly, because you can't. There are too many variables involved. I see this as an intentional withholding of relevant evidence by the state because of how the 1985 case, because it's all about the 85 case, all of it.
Well,
Everything can be.
what's so fishy is that he actually, nothing really happened until 2007.
That's right. That's the next, really, the delay. Why? How did the delay occur? Now, I understand there's extradition. Most states have an extradition process with neighboring states. A written thing, how things will go. But to delay of 27 months, I find that highly irregular. It's 2+ years,
Was he
I don't.
then extradited to Minnesota at that
He
time?
was. He was. December of 07, he was extradited to Minnesota. And like I said, he eventually, well, actually, it didn't take that long.
Wow.
They worked out a plea deal or whatever ridiculous sentence that he got that he could serve concurrently.
I'll tell you what's so weird in between those two dates is that they transferred Gregory Allen from Waupun to Manitowoc County Jail. Is that right? Do I have that right?
There was about, I can't remember the number of days. It wasn't real long. I don't want to say a number and it be totally incorrect, but I think that it was around a week in October of 2005 that he was in Manitowoc. I believe that's correct. Sunshine
Did that
Christina could probably.
did that include the 31st?
I don't remember. I don't remember. It's been too long since I looked at that report. I just don't remember. I just know it was I'm sure it was in October of 2005 for whatever reason. And again, we don't know the reason. I'm sure this happens. We've talked about this, that sometimes prisoners will get moved out to county jails because of, it could be a threat. It could be to that prison. They got to get them out of there for a period of time till they get this other person, whatever, solve a problem. It could be a crowding issue, could be a problem within the jail, for construction or whatever. We don't know.
Right.
So
It's
but
just crazy timing.
it is crazy timing. I'm not a big believer in coincidence when you get into situations like that. I'm just not.
Right.
Real life coincidences do happen, but I don't know. It's just weird. It's crazy timing.
And then again, at that time, the civil suit was ongoing. He
Yes.
gets transferred to Manitowoc. That doesn't make the news,
No,
right?
not at all. No. That never gets, reported out by a jailer or, tell a, some
That's a
news
matter of
reporter.
public record, right?
Well, I don't know that. I would imagine you could probably get the information if you, um, if you submitted a request, as long as it didn't involve something. Yeah, I would imagine that it probably would be. I just don't know how long or what the process would be for you to have to get that record from the Department of Corrections, because it would be there. Now you're dealing with a different entity. I'm not saying they're not subject to open record requests, because they are. I just don't know how forthcoming they would be. I don't know that, but probably. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to track him.
Right. I mean,
But ag-
those reporters, they call in every day, see what's going on, anything happening,
yeah,
and.
yeah, that's right. A lot of times they do. Anything newsworthy? Yeah, you remember that Greg Allen guy? Avery, blah blah blah, Avery case. Yeah,
It's
we
right
got
here
him
in
here.
Manitowoc.
Yeah, he's gonna be here for a while. That's weird. Why? It, possibly. That's an interesting angle. I think, again, there's more than one caveat here for me in the Gregory Allen saga. I think there is for many people. I know. I'm sure Susan thinks that Doc. Speaking of Sunshine, or Sunshine Christina, there she is.
Oh, there's our Gregory Allen
Yep.
whiz.
Yep.
Hey, girl.
If you're talking, you're muted.
You're muted again.
Yeah, she unmuted. She may be having connection
There she
issues.
is.
There
Yeah,
we go.
my Bluetooth for my car was hooked up, so I had to unhook the Bluetooth so I could hear y'all.
Oh.
So
Hey
I
there.
made it. Yeah, hi.
So have you been listening?
No, no, I just got a second to get logged in and all of it. So
I have a question for you.
Okay.
When they transferred Allen to Manitowoc in October of 2005, was
Mm-hmm.
he there? Do you know if he was there on the 31st?
So there are rumors that he traveled. So it wasn't, if my recollection serves, because I haven't, looked at the docs. I believe that he was transported from one prison to another on the 31st. Does that sound about right?
We were talking about this right before you popped in.
Uh-huh.
I remember that he was there, but I can't remember the number of days, and I don't remember exactly what the days were. I just don't recall.
Let me
Been too
see.
long since been
Yeah.
too
I
long
thought
since
he
I've
went,
looked.
I thought like they took him to the county jail in Manitowoc, but I could be wrong about that. Because there's
So
some
That's what I,
prison in
that's
Manitowoc.
what I was. That's what I was thinking too.
I believe, hold on. I believe that there was, so who was the snitch in this case? In the Hallbach case. Who was the guy who claimed to have killed her and then claimed Stephen confessed and to him and
That
then
guy and what was
yes.
his name?
I can
Anybody in chat
I
remember
can
his name?
I can't remember his
Confessed, and then said Stephen confessed to him, and then he
Oh, you
confessed to
talk
it.
you talking about the dude that wrote all the letters and talk about
yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
Teresa's vagina a million times. He couldn't get off the
yes.
subject.
The one who was
That-
convicted of killing his wife
Evans.
out of Cribbets because
It
that
was
was one of
Evans.
his
Evans.
shot. Or
Evan, Evans.
yes. So
Crap, trending debris Evans.
he is how I discovered that due to a supposed prison overpopulation, they were allowing some convicted state prisoners to be housed in county jails. And he ended up being housed in Manitowoc for a while under that little act, or there was some bill that was passed where the county government's got money to house state prisoners due to prison overcrowding. If I remember correctly, Allen was transferred from one prison to another. I'm trying to see if I can find it. He was transferred from one prison to another on Halloween of 05, and his route would have brought him through where he stayed. He either went through Manitowoc or he stayed at the Manitowoc County Jail during that transfer.
That's so crazy.
It is, because of all days, and you really can't make it up. And you wonder, is that truthful, or is it, just another red herring? Because in case somebody does go down that rabbit hole, they find it. I mean, you just don't know why that even, like, what are the odds of that happening?
Right.
Well, speaking of coincidences, and as you know, Christina, I'm not in these kinds of situations. I'm just not a big. I know they happen in real life. I get it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying. I'm not trying to go off on a way out there on planet Neptune conspiracy that they brought Allen in to do something. I don't know that, and I don't want to project that, but
Right.
I can't explain why he was there. I can't.
No. And I mean, how convenient that there's this ready-made, quote, conspiracy, unquote, theory that can be made because of the paper trail. Like, it makes you wonder. It's just crazy. It really
It
is.
it is. Yeah.
And I know they have a link. So, but I don't know. So, can you do like a 90-second catch me up on what we're discussing?
Well, basically, this has been a summary of part two because the first part in the first podcast I did on this a couple of weeks ago, we really talked more about Alan's early life. We know, you found out, he had trouble when he was a juvenile. It's even in one of the reports that we
Mm-hmm.
just read out. He had a felony when he was a juvenile. Of course, we don't know the extent of his juvenile record. And then move forward. And I basically ended the first podcast in the mid 80s around the Penny Bernstein attack. And so tonight, this has been a summary of starting from there, the Vogel letter to those two cops in January of 86, about Allen, and we've talked about it a million times. Vogel gave Allen an alibi in the 85 trial that it couldn't have been him. No, this guy's got an alibi. Blah, blah, blah. He was at work. Well, we know that's not true. If he
He
was,
talked
then
to his probation officer, parole
that's right.
officer.
But
Yeah.
if everyone remembers in the Colburn v. Netflix lawsuit, we got basically all of the reports that Amy Lehman and Deb Strauss wrote, and they contacted the probation office and found out I didn't talk to that guy Bogle. What's he talking
Yep.
about?
Yeah, and he
Yep.
wasn't even on probation.
He wasn't even on That's right. He wasn't even on probation.
No, he was not on probation.
So then we went through the 91 assault.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, she had her read out a couple pages of that actual assault from the 91 report from Hopkins County that you got. Not all of it, of course, but just to give the basic information of what happened. Then we read out what happened later in 2005. Of course, we talked about what happened in 99 and that for whatever reason, that detective, the Hopkins County chose not to go after Allen in 99. We don't know, as
After
far
they
as I
got him
remember,
back.
we don't really know. Yeah. We don't really know why they didn't, as far as I can remember. I don't remember anything specific at all. They
So,
just didn't.
so I think the explanation given on paper was that the victim chose not to prosecute because he was already doing such an extensive amount of time on the Wisconsin charge. Yet that kind of contradicts the story that they used to run his DNA to get the hit that exposed him in '05, because
Well, she
99.
called, right?
That's right. That's right. She had read, there was an article in a local paper where DNA was being used
In
to,
cold case, in cold cases, right?
that's right. Yep. And so she called up, and so the investigator pulled the file and ran it, and it came back to him. So I'm looking at his movement sheet, and he wasn't moved. You know, it's interesting. So he was moved, not to go back, but he was moved September 19th of '03, which was 8 days after Stephen was released, right?
Yeah.
Yep, because Stephen was released on September 11th of '03. And
Yeah.
then he was moved again on November 3rd, which was the day Teresa was reported missing.
That's odd.
It is odd. I mean, he's got a lot of movement. I mean, to
Why would they
be,
why would they move him so much? I don't really get that.
yeah, it's odd. And I think it's odd personally. He did now they did do, and Stephen was a part of this in when he was sentenced on Penny's case. Remember, they were transporting prisoners out of state, and
Tennessee, right?
yeah, and what's weird is Allen was in Tennessee. Yep. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It
I
is.
mean, it, they've got, um, it's very strange, but it's all a money game. The prison industry is definitely a money making venture. It's why it's privatized. Mm, not all of it, but a lot of it is. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
he
Is
was
he
at
still in
Fox.
Minnesota?
No, so he was never in Minnesota. What happened was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but if I recall correctly, he got a uh, what they call a concurrent sentence where
Yeah. They did
he,
extradite him. He did go back to Minnesota for a short period of time, and he got a
yeah,
concurrent bullshit sentence. It was not that long, and he got to serve at the same time he was sentenced for Wisconsin.
he's already
Correct.
off of all of his Minnesota charges.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I think he did I think he got 7 years and 15 years paper. And because I discovered all of this right before he was getting ready to be released off of felony probation, or else I wouldn't have found it. I just on a whim ran his name through the Minnesota DOC, the Minnesota Department of Corrections inmate search, and it popped with his name, and I was like, no way. And then it was the same birthday, and I was like, what in the heck? And I remember I messaged you, and I was like, isn't this
Yep.
interesting?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And to answer 3 Rev 4's question, I don't know where Allen is now. I don't. He's in
I
some prison, but I don't know where.
I can tell you where he's at because I'm looking at it right now. He's at Oshkosh.
There you go.
Yep. Or yeah, Oshkosh and New Lisbon, because he's what they call a violent sexual offender. He was part of a sexual offender rehabilitation program for a little while. And let me look at his picture real quick. He was in a supervised living facility.
Huh.
Yep. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. He was probably trying to get parole.
Well, didn't he come up for parole last year or
Mhm.
a couple years ago?
Yep.
Not been long. It's not been long.
Mm-mm.
And
Status.
yeah. Anyway, we're talking about now. We got to the arrest of, or the warrant that was written in September
Mm-hmm.
of 2005, and that warrant wasn't served for 27 months during this rest of the investigation, the rest of the depositions, and then going into Teresa, all that investigation, the trials of both Brendan and Stephen. They're both sent off to prison by August of 2007. They're both in whatever prison. This warrant doesn't get served on this extradition on Allen until December of 2007. So 27 months passed from the initial time the warrant was written.
So Brendan's at Oshkosh?
Hold on. I
That's
can.
what everybody's saying.
Becca would know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
Seems
Under Your Stars is saying.
Hold on. I can look real quick. So Gregory Allen is at Oshkosh, and he comes up for parole again on 4/24 of next year. So that way, oh, you know what? Here, let me just screenshot this so I have it. This is Gregory Allen's latest little thing, and then we'll go back and we'll look up Brendan. Yeah, Becca knows for sure where he is, but I can tell you what they're claiming here.
I can't remember she posted the address not too long ago, but I don't remember
I'm pretty sure
exactly
that's where he's at.
Yeah, I think so too. But again, I don't know the process. It's
Yeah.
I don't like to be the source of putting out an innuendo statement. But again, to me, an extradition between two neighboring states to take 2 years and 3 months, I got an issue. That doesn't sound right. I mean, it just doesn't. It shouldn't take that long to go through the process of saying, hey, we've got your guy's DNA. He needs to come back to this state and go through the whatever. Of course, they did a plea
And
deal,
then
but
basically get no punishment for it. Nothing.
nothing. It was a wash because it's
That's
concurrent. Served at the same time of what he did to her, and it's a brutal attack. Wish we
So
could have met under. He says, he tells this woman in 91, I wish we could have met under different circumstances. You're so beautiful. I just
yeah,
have to. What?
yeah. And yes, both Brendan and Gregory Allen are at Oshkosh.
Isn't that
That is
interesting?
correct.
Isn't
And
that correct?
so Brendan has been locked up for going on 18 years now.
No,
And
it's over 18. It's over 18 years.
yep. And he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Since being at reception, he has changed. He's only been to 3 prisons, whereas Gregory Allen has been to multiple prisons. And that to me is just interesting because their sentencing crimes are so similar as well.
He's been in 12 years longer, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see
He's
if I
been
can.
in for 30 years.
Under your scars
Next
posted
year.
a screenshot. Under your scars posted a screenshot in our Discord. It says, "Yeah, you have to Oshkosh Correctional Facility, but you got to mail it to Maryland, Phoenix, Maryland,
Yeah, that's
for it to go." That's so crazy.
Yeah,
Jesus.
because they're not allowed to have real letters now. they get a computer generated copy of it.
Really?
Yeah, that started, I don't know, Becca would know for sure, but it started a couple of years ago because of the issues with like contraband they claim. But what they do is they make copies of everything, and then they keep the original, send the copy. And I find that I actually think it's a violation of civil rights, but that's another
No,
conversation.
no.
But
Yeah.
Mhm.
because that's like making it where you don't even have a, like any sort of contact. You know what I mean? Like that's so, it's like taking away all parts of your humanity.
Well, we know that prisons are designed in a large part to do that, to destroy your humanity.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that people that are guilty shouldn't be punished. They should. But I mean, at what point do you say, okay? But anyway, again, getting back to this coincidental thing that they found out that Allen has done this 1991 cold case and probably many others that he got away with. But they've got him on this one. They keep it secret and quiet. We were talking about right before you came in too, Christina. Now, obviously, someone like Peg or whoever the AG was, it didn't matter. The AG would have certainly known that they had come and got Allen's DNA, and probably many of her lieutenants.
Mm-hmm.
And this tight circle, how far did that filter out? Did they keep it just to themselves? Did their, AAGs know? Did a guy like Fallon possibly know? I don't know that. And then, maybe Allen passed it on to someone like Kratz. The thing is that what I see, again, this is another part of what I see with Allen over history, over time. He's
Mm-hmm.
basically he's basically protected. Vogel did it all through the 80s, or at least he left in 86. He protected that guy, knocking charges. He knocking charges down left and right for that guy. He ends up paying a $300-400 fine and walks away from a felony that he should have served some jail time over him, in my opinion.
And
He
then
did it.
handed them 10 years on a silver platter to
That's right.
go do what he wanted
That's right.
by not
That's
charging him with immigrants.
and then we get into the 2005 time frame when this cold case. Well, it should have been 99, but it wasn't. We can debate the reasons for why they didn't do it. Yeah, he was already serving a 60-year term, but to me that don't matter. If you do something somewhere else, you got to face that music too, and it should be a separate. It should be a separate playlist for that music. You can't. To me, you would never
So,
tie that to a concurrent sentence. Make it a concurrent sentence. Come on.
so
Well,
that detective in 99 lied and said the victim didn't want to press charges in 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 99 when he matched the DNA.
yeah. So here's what I think happened.
Didn't you talk to the victim, Christina?
I I talked to, so no. So but when I made the records request, one of the people involved had a first cousin who had been sexually assaulted by who they deduced the crime was never solved, but the MO was very similar to Gregory Allen's case, to Gregory Allen's victims. Now, they I spoke to the I did speak to the cousin who worked for the police department, and I communicated via email with the victim. I may have spoke with her by phone, but I think it was just via email. She's actually an attorney, And she was a student when she was assaulted. Super nice lady. Um, and it was I remember one of the things that she said that really stuck with me was it was like a couple of weeks before either finals or midterms, and the way she was treated by the university, she ended up having to take a semester off because they only wanted to give her like 2 days.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, and her assault was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
It's up there with
Yeah.
Penny's. And
Was that
um
in Minnesota?
that's the one
Also?
in Minnesota. Yeah. There was, I tried to get the list of because there was several uh several people committing sexual assaults, or there was a large amount of sexual assaults being committed in that area at that time. A lot of them had similarities to Gregory Allen's, but some of them didn't. There was 2 or 3 people on the Minnesota BCI radar that could have been responsible for, like, I think it was probably 50 or so sexual assaults that had occurred over a 5 or 6 year period, which seems like a lot, but Minnesota is a pretty big town, and plus you got the suburbs and all that. Um, what,
Minneapolis.
yeah, Minneapolis, the Hopkins, is it Twin Rivers, or um just, you got a couple million people in that area. Well, what happened in Gregory Allen's case was, when this is what I think that because of Allen's connection to Avery, and the fact that that DNA hit happened so close to the filing of the civil suit by Stephen. Like, all of this was playing out at the same time. And it would have been a public relations media nightmare at
That's what I'm
that
saying.
time.
That's
At
what I'm
that
saying.
time, yeah, for the cops to be linked to yet more crimes committed by Gregory Allen that had occurred because they had wrongfully convicted Stephen Avery.
That's why I
And
said this. I think this would have rolled right up to Kasurk and Vogel's door. I think it would
Mhm.
have. I don't know
and the
that.
DOJ.
Well, potentially. I mean, again, this detective in April of 2005. Uh, that's when they started looking at this cold case again. In fact, he opens the file and finds out that because the victim had called and says, "Hey, what's the status of my case?"
Hmm.
And so this new detective looks and says, "Well, shit, there was a match in '99," and went after it at that point. And it was actually in May. It was I think it was May 4th of
Yeah,
2005 when
yeah,
they
May the
uh,
fourth be
got
with
got
you.
got the warrant and went a short time later to Wisconsin and got Allen's DNA.
yeah.
Uh,
And
Okay, so May 12th is when the deposition started in Avery's civil trial. It's like a week before.
yeah,
It had
it,
it had it had to shake the tree. It had, in my mind. I could be reading this all wrong, but
and
I don't think.
and you have the momentum that Stephen had in the press. Like, he had, what was his name, Grunset or whatever, the guy's name with the G, who, the legislator, congressman person, who they were trying to, pass these laws to help with wrongful convictions. All of these things were occurring that the public did not, or, that the public was aware of. They were giving Stephen a makeover. They were painting him as the poster boy for wrongful convictions. And he had filed a lawsuit for $36 million on top of that. And then, if this had come out, he would have had, not only would he have had the sympathy of the jury in a potential civil suit, this would have also opened the door for the victims of Gregory Allen to then seek compensation. Because if, and this is just me, but if they would have been shown to be negligent in their choosing to go after Stephen Avery, and Stephen Avery would have been, awarded any amount of money, then they would have started really looking into how and why this was allowed to continue. And it would have also opened the door for Gregory Allen's victims to start coming forward.
I think it would have been a media nightmare.
Oh,
That's
for
just me.
sure. For sure.
How
Okay,
I don't
so-
I can't prove. I'm sorry, Susan. I just want to say this. I can't
Okay.
prove that the media would have made that connection back to Vogel and Casart, but I think that a couple of smart ones might have.
So Jim Crane lives in Oshkosh. He says maybe I should go visit Greg. Would you please and ask him what was the deal with Vogel?
If he would answer. If he would answer,
Yeah,
that would be great to know. It
sure
really would.
I have contemplated trying to write him. I have. I'm not going to lie.
They have to.
Right. To write Allen?
Yep, I have. I really have. He's 70 years old. He comes up
Yeah.
for parole in 24. His earliest possible release date without parole is 2035. And
He probably wouldn't be much of a threat at that point, but
he looks good for 70. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Like, it blows my mind how some people don't age well in prison and some people do. Because, like, he doesn't look 70 to me. Or maybe that's just because I'm getting older. I don't know. And 70 doesn't look as old as it used to.
Yeah.
I don't know. That could be that.
I think that has something to do with it.
Yep, I think you're probably right. But I mean, like, he's got children, and I'm sure there has been incentives given to him to keep his mouth shut, and and threats as well. And
Oh yeah, I don't think he'd reveal anything at this point.
No,
With the possibility of parole.
but
Jen,
it's worth trying. I don't know. I'm gonna think on it.
Jen R says, how can Allen be up for parole when he got a 60-year sentence? Well, it depends on the sentencing guidelines. States vary with their sentencing guidelines as to when a parole prisoner that's been sentenced can be asked for
Certain
parole.
percentage of your
Yeah, that's typically
time,
yeah.
as long as you're keeping those clean, etc.
Yeah, that's right.
And back in the 90s, the gain time was different. It was a lot less strict. So most states now do like an 85% rule, which is why Brendan's earliest release date is so ridiculous. Whereas I think when Allen was sentenced to his 60 years, I think it was only 30 that he had to serve. It was like 50%. You get a day for day or something to that
That's
effect.
crazy.
Yeah.
Why say 60 then? It's just, it's like being sneaky.
Yeah, because it sounds a lot harsher. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds more strict than it was. And I mean, technically, we are supposed to be rehabilitating and helping these prisoners. I'm not saying all of them can be, but I was raised believing that people went to prison and got out learning. Most people would get help with whatever it was that caused them to commit a crime so that they then would make better choices in the future. Now, as a grown up and who has experienced jail personally and known people who've went to prison, I know that these programs are few and far between, and most of them are, you know, sound a whole lot better on paper than they do in actuality, because the it's, one, you got to be willing to change, and two, you have to pull a lot of strings to get into these programs, because anything that's going to help you make better choices or anything like that, most of those, there's a list a mile long of prisoners trying to get in. I think here in Florida, we have 100,000 people in prison and 1 million or something crazy on some sort of probation.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
I just
that's
I just
insane.
I just posted a link in the live chat to the Gregory Allen case files in the library for anyone that's interested. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot.
Do you have, where should I post? Because I have a screenshot of Gregory Allen's latest mugshot. Where would I share that if you could, so that you could share it if you wanted?
Yeah, you can put it. Um,
What's the easiest place to stick it?
just put it in the open mic room.
Okay.
Open, and it'll be right there. I can pin it or whatever. You can pin it, and that way we'll have it. But it driving the bus back to this disparaging thing. And again, I don't know how these extradition things work. I don't. I've never really dove off into that pool, but I dare say that, and let's just say let's just say Allen's in Wisconsin, and he's got a case going on currently. I could see an extradition being delayed, but that's not what was happening at all. He didn't have a case going on. He wasn't in trial for some court and for something else or some kind of hearing or legal thing. So what is the delay? What created that? Was there a conversation with Wisconsin authorities that said, "Hey, we need to dot. We need to delay this for as long as possible."
And that's yeah, I went off on a tangent. So bordering states have a different kind of extradition um treaty. I think that actual word is used than like extraditions from California to Florida, let's say. Florida and Georgia have a different extradition process, because it's very common for criminals to commit a crime in one state and then run across the border to the next state. So they kind of diminish the red tape. And I confirmed that that is something that occurs in Wisconsin and Minnesota as well. It's actually, uh, there's laws and stuff that handle that. So they they can't use the argument that the paperwork took that long, or it was a process or any of that, because they streamlined that process, because it's a common thing for criminals to do this. So and he had no other pending cases. He wasn't out of state during this time. In fact, let me see if I can figure out where he was. Um, he was, I believe he was in Waupun at the time. So he was located in the state of Wisconsin. from 2000 November of '05 to this till they came and took him to Minnesota. He was at Stanley. So, and then he went from Stanley to Minnesota, and he was only in Minnesota, and this is highly unusual in a cold case that, you know, should have had a lot of court hearings and all of that. He was only there for from December of '07 to April of '08. He was arrested, went to first appearance, had all his prelims, pled out, and was returned in under 6 months.
Wow.
Yep. And that's not usual in these kinds of cases, in my experience. If someone knows differently, let me know. But normally you're going to sit for about a year just waiting for the process to run its course. And that's without delays that are unforeseen, you know, because you've got, you know, just all the stuff. And so the fact that he was able, I mean, think about how long Stephen and Brendan's cases went on. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, so they
Well,
were
when you take a
trying.
plea, that cuts everything down significantly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The plea.
yeah, but normally you got to sit and wait them out. But they offered him a sweetheart plea. I'd have took it
Yeah.
too.
They did.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yep.
Actually,
Jesus.
I think it was all a done deal by, what did I say, Susan? April? Let me look here. I think it was April. Yeah, it was about 4 months. It was a done deal. And he
Mhm.
got moved back, to Wisconsin.
Yep. And so for it to happen that quickly, they were trying to keep it under wraps because they needed to make sure that nobody got a whiff of it and then tied it to and started questioning because see the bone evidence in Teresa's case didn't start disappearing until 2010. When did they get that grant money? The Wisconsin Innocence Project got the
Yeah,
100. Yeah,
2010.
yeah.
The bone
So
gate was 2011, wasn't it? And they gave the bones back.
yeah. Oh no. They gave the bones back the day after they got the money. No.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was the day after. So
Wow.
I was like, yeah, you can't make it up. You really can't. So,
Yeah.
hold on, let me see. I may have a screenshot of that as well. Jinxie found that one.
Was it-
The Wisconsin Innocence Project got the funding to do the the testing, and the next day, the bones went to the funeral home.
You can't make it up.
Nope.
You're absolutely right.
No. After a
No,
while, it's. Go ahead, Susan.
I was just going to answer. Danny Burfan says, does anyone think Allen had anything to do with Callbot? But it doesn't seem like that's possible since he was incarcerated
Yeah. No, do
and
I think?
was not in Manitowoc County
Yeah.
on the 31st.
Do I think he had something to do physically with her disappearance? No. Do I think that Gregory Allen was a reason why she disappeared? Yes.
Right?
So, yeah.
Yeah. So he did have something to do with it. Yeah. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Scooby. Scooby the dog has joined us.
There's another document that I didn't pull up and show, but it's in the file play library. Anyway, this is an activity report. I don't really know what to make of it because it's got other events and activity, and it talks about 9/22/05. That's 9/22/2005. That's when this warrant was written. And then it's got two other entries on 922. It says converted SIP activity. Don't know what that means. And then on 12/5, moving forward 27 months, 12/5/2007, it says other document. There's no explanation as to what this document is at all. It doesn't say.
Mm-mm. Oh, I'm gonna have to look at that. So when was that? December of what?
2007.
Because he was transferred 12/13 of '07.
Yeah, first appearance is 12/14. It's got that in this document here.
So so that's how quick they could process him in and get him to first appearance.
Yep,
He was transferred and went to first appearance the next day.
that's right.
That's crazy. It's like they had him on the. So you know what that probably was? That was probably the warrant for him to appear in court.
Could have been. And then on 12/14 also, you got a public defender, $1 million bond, and same day also he demanded a speedy trial.
Yep.
How could they set bond if he's serving time?
It's a different charge, different state.
But
I
still,
get on.
it makes
I don't
no
know.
sense.
I guess that's the process, but I don't know because it's a separate thing, and I guess it has to be handled entirely differently. I mean, I don't think if he posted the bond that he could get out. I don't think they would let him out. So I agree with you. Redundant.
Yeah.
1/3/2008. Now here we're talking, a couple weeks later after the holidays. There's a plea hearing. No, I'm sorry, notice of case assignment. February 26th plea hearing. Petition to enter guilty plea same day. Pre-sentencing investigation.
I did talk to the DA in that case.
Then there was a sex offender evaluation. And the next day, other order from the judge. The jury trial for the 14th was canceled because he pled and was sentenced.
Yep.
They should have tacked on another 50 years to his sentence.
I agree.
I agree, and can serve consecutively, not concurrently.
Yeah.
God Almighty, please. That's an interesting.
Yeah, I did call the DA. I got her on the phone, and she chose not to. She said she wasn't allowed to comment on the case, and that was that. Yeah.
Long after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's bullshit. Just wanted to get it off their books. It's what they do. Give shit.
And she's a woman, and for her, not saying it's, but for women to be so callous about Gregory Allen's treatment of women, and we're not talking about he didn't just target low income, the marginalized of society. One of his, the victim that, one's an attorney. The victim that in this case, the Minnesota case, was not she wasn't a drug addict or anything like that. And see, one of the things that I found interesting was I think that he was also targeting like the streetwalkers because he had a drug problem, and so I think that he probably had two types. He had the type that struck his fancy, which are the women like Penny and the Minnesota victims that we know of, the two. Hold on, my dog. And then
The,
I
the
also,
woman in 91 had been out to a bar that night. It's probably
yep,
where he
Yep.
spotted her.
yep.
He probably saw her there and followed her home.
And then
Yeah.
I think that, is that the Green Bay, one of the two Green Bay victims that we know of?
The 91.
The one in
Uh,
Minnesota.
I think-
Oh,
oh,
okay, the one in
Minnesota. Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Because the Green Bay victims, I believe he had targeted them, uh, and they were, they were just run of the mill, regular women. But I also think he targeted your street walking, drug addicted types as well. And those are the ones that,
Also teenagers. I mean,
yep,
he wasn't real picky.
no,
No, he wasn't. Not at all.
no.
Yeah.
And those
That's
are
what
the
makes him so
ones,
dangerous.
those are the ones that nobody complains about. And so, how many of them, because I have tried to get a list of the missing, and I know that there's like the Jane John Doe websites and stuff like that. But unless these people have families that are actively trying to find them, the cops are not going to volunteer that they have 10 or 12 streetwalkers that disappeared that they haven't seen. And I don't put it past Gregory Allen, from what we know, being a serial killer.
Oh, I totally agree. It
And
would not it would not surprise me at all. At
and
all.
Yeah.
and with the advent of the Saki system, that would be a perfect avenue to solve a lot of unsolved homicides, except nobody wants it to be known that Gregory Allen is a serial killer because of his link, if he was a serial killer, because of his link to Stephen Avery. Because if you start questioning how Gregory Allen was able to do this, then you have to talk about Stephen's case. And you
Oh,
can't
absolutely.
talk about 1985 without talking about the 2005 case. And then you start looking at Teresa Hallbach's case under a microscope. You're either intentionally obtuse or not wanting to admit that, he was probably set up twice.
Well, I mean, for me, for the 2005 case, to make Stephen and Brendan guilty, I have to compromise what
Mhm.
I feel is right. What things that were done intentionally that um, makes the system, the checks and balances were knocked off kilter, and I can't do that. I can't accept that. I can't. It won't work for me. And I'm not saying that because I like Stephen or I have a lot of feeling for Brendan because I just don't. I think that kid just got screwed. But at the same time, I don't have any real connection to Brendan either. This is about, for me, it's about right and wrong. It's not necessarily, it could be about any two guys or any two women or a mixture. It's about right and wrong for me. And looking at Allen again throughout, let's just go back to hell, even the 70s. I mean, he was a suspected murder suspect for that young girl, him and another guy, and he leaves the state, comes up north, eventually kind of settles, I guess, if you can say settle, in the Manitowoc area. I mean, he wasn't certainly wasn't tied to it, and begins his reign of terror throughout. It's untold how many women he attacked. He didn't stay. He stayed away from the dudes because I guess he probably had the hell to get out of him. Maybe he would have tried that too, but that wasn't his real interest. He's a sexual predator. Period. End of story.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. It he he definitely has left a lot of carnage in his wake, and we'll likely never know. It'll never be publicly known just how many people's lives he impacted. Um, and when he was the working for the electrical company, doing all those power lines and traveling all over the United States, he was in a perfect employment position to hit and run. And
Wait,
and
where was that, Christina, when he was doing that?
um, where
Was that after Penny?
it was,
Be-
yes, it was after Penny, and it stopped right after the 91 case. I believe it was 87. Well, he did the year and a half for assaulting the security guard when he got caught in Manitowoc for peeping in the dressing room. He did a year and a half in prison for that. And then after that, he went to work for them. But he was all over the US. It was like what was it, Jax? A 4 or 5 year period?
Yeah, we talked. Well, actually, we talked about that at the beginning of the podcast. But yeah, he was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
As
He
far
was,
south as New Orleans, and as far west, at least at some point, he went to California. I think twice,
yeah,
but he was in Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa,
Texas.
um, Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia.
And
That this detective in Green Bay had tracked him.
I put in records requests for a lot of these places, and trying to get the records of unsolved sexual assaults in that area, unsolved murders. And a lot of them, I got no responsive records. And then when I tried to get it through the Saki data, a lot of these places that I knew where Gregory Allen had been from the Green Bay detectives' work, a lot of them, like a couple of these states, didn't even apply to get the grant money. And I find that unusual. Or those counties didn't submit records. Or they did, but for the years Gregory Allen was there, they claimed that there was no, like the sexual assault kits had been damaged. It's like somebody's going behind him and cleaning up his mess.
Well, not only for him. I mean, there are others too. I mean, to me, it's a real failing of the system. If you have a kit with evidence, it gets tested.
Mhm.
Period. Just like
Mhm.
any a murder case or a burger, whatever the case may be. That material, that biological material, gets tested right away.
It's just,
How that it's a failing of the system to me. Complete failure.
oh yeah.
It needs to be fixed. The profiting off of defendants has to be fixed too. That has to be gone. Phone companies, these phone companies charging $1 a freaking minute for a phone call. It costs them literally microcents to make happen. Microcents. I'm talking about they take a penny and cut it into 5,000 pieces. It's literally in today's world. It's literally nothing to make that
No.
connection. And they're charging. Some places are charging $1 a minute.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous to me in today's world. And it's been going on. These companies are profiting huge profits of money.
Oh
Just,
yeah. They've got video visits, the canteen system. So one of
well,
the,
the
yeah.
video calls are even more expensive than that. That's
Mhm.
crazy. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I like watching this reality show called Love After Lockup. Don't ask, but anyway, there was a kid that just got out of prison, and he was looking for a pair of shoes, and he's like, "Yeah, see these New Balances, the version we get in prison." The shoes he was looking at were $30 brand new. And he's like, yeah, the version we get in prison, they charge us $90 for them, and they fall apart after 6 months.
Good grief.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane.
It is.
And
It's
I'll
a
never,
racket.
oh, it is. And I'll never forget um, when I was an inmate, I read the name tag. This is, yeah, do you know who Bob Barker is? The guy from The Price is Right? Yeah,
Bob Barker? Oh, yeah.
so that's the name of the, I don't know if he has a contract with multiple agencies, prison and jail agencies, but he made all of the uniforms that I wore. Because back in the early 2000s, I had a drug problem, so I would get arrested for stupid crimes. And Bob Barker made all of my inmate uniforms in 3 counties that I was in.
Yeah,
wow.
he had a big business.
Yep.
Case 10 says maybe they're trying to recoup some of what it costs to house a prisoner because that can't be cheap, I don't think. Well, I would imagine that the department, I guess there's probably a contract with the Department of Corrections that they get some of that profit. I would imagine that's true. I haven't seen. I would imagine those records would be a matter of public. If that's true, money's changing hands, so it really kind of has to be. But at the same time, uh, this burden on a prisoner, a defendant, just to simply make a call to his lawyer or a family member or whatever, it needs to be addressed.
So so I know in Florida, I believe the prison system gets like $140 a day from the taxpayers for each prisoner housed. Then the prisoner has to work, and they get the work that they do, the prison gets paid for because they contract work, whether it's making license plates, and the prison system gets paid by the highway department, like the people that for us it's the DMV. So the DMV has to pay the prison to make the license plate, and they're getting paid way more per license plate than they're paying the prisoner to make them. Plus, then they're charging us to put our car on the road. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's, trust
That's
me, that they can claim they ain't making no money, but that ain't true.
follow the money.
That's right.
It's big business. We've talked about that, and I want to thank Mary Kopp for gifting a Balflay membership to someone. Appreciate
Aw.
that. That's very nice. Anyway, we could, as I said in the beginning, part one, and I said it again tonight. We could talk for a month about Gregory Allen. We could go through his
Mhm.
record. It is so extensive. It's crazy. Anyway, I wanted to get this information out. I have to thank Sunshine Christina and Seeking Truth. They got the buck of this information
Seeking
for
Truth
us.
started it.
She did. She did. She got that massive 650-page volume from Green Bay, and it was just mind blowing. We had no idea.
Mm-mm.
We had no clue. I mean, we kind of, well, I guess we had a clue from Making a Murder, but not to the extent of what that went into. And then
Uh,
your other mind blowing when you find out about the 1991 cold case hit, and they kept it just completely off the radar. Well, let's just back up. Do you think that Mora and Demos would have left that out of Making a Murder had they known about the 1991 case? Of course not. They
I
kept this super quiet.
Yeah, I can't see the benefit when their motive was to bring awareness to injustice in the justice system. I can't see how they would have not made this known when they had the opportunity to have such a large platform. Because
Right.
I think that this would have been this could have been the cherry on top of the sundae, and really getting people to think seriously about why this case happened. I have to believe they didn't know. Um,
Oh, I totally agree.
What is this photo, Jeff?
Well, I put this up because, you know, for me, a lot of this of the 2005 case drives back to Pest Road. This is a photo from the deer camp as you drive in down the deer camp road before you get to the trailers. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a little
I knew
garage
I'd
there.
seen it before. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was just crime scene taped off down that road, which is again interesting that far down away from the area of disturbed earth, which is another discovery Christina came up with. That was magic. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it was another a true eye opener for that one because again, we found out about this blunt and bloody object in the RAV, which nobody had ever heard of. What the hell are you talking about? Well, come on, man, help us out here. Anyway,
that's
um, we've
that.
been at it we've been at it a couple hours. Anything else you want to add before we walk out of here and have some dinner, Christina, Susan?
I
I
think I'm
think
good,
there's.
Jack.
Yep. I think there's more to be discovered. When it's a wrongful conviction, I don't think that I personally think that the truth is out there. You can't cover all your bases in a case that encompasses as much as this one
Too
without.
complex.
Yeah, I think that they have to have a paper trail because it's a legal case. And I think that because of that and because of all the players involved, I believe that it's still overturnable. That's just all I'm gonna say. So I think that I have hope that we can still find a way to bring the truth to light. So that's just my belief. And I think Gregory Allen, this is one of the hashtags I use, is Gregory Allen is the key, because I think Gregory Allen is the key to exposing all of this. If you can figure out why he was allowed to remain free and Stephen Avery wasn't, it'll open the door to understanding everything in this case. But
Everything
that's,
goes everything goes back to 85. Everything. I'm
yeah.
sorry it does.
Agreed. Agreed.
And I think that given um, this document, this disturbed earth unfiled warrant that Christina discovered, that tells me, I mean, we suspect a lot of other things, but that tells me that there's probably other pieces of evidence, and whatever form that is, it could be a video, it could be an audio file, it could be a document that we've never seen before that I won't necessarily say is the case ender, but who the hell knows? All I know is that there's things out there that I feel certain we've never seen and may
Yep.
never see. I just think that we have to keep trying. I mean, I keep bitching about it and I'll continue to bitch about it, but hopefully soon I can do something about it. I've got my oldest open records request is from August of 2022. Now here we are almost 27 months later.
That's
The,
crazy.
notice that number, that it's one file. It's one request. This is not a multiple part. I want this. It's one file that I want. and they still won't let me have it. One. I have 3 from last year, going back to, I think the first one is in April. I think I have another one in June or July, and I have another one not long after that. 3 from last year, and I think I've got 1 or 2 from this year. They've not
Wow.
answered any. They've not answered any of them. I've got one from Calumet that I turned in June 3rd. I still don't have it, and all the stuff that I asked for is just regular stuff. It's not. I'm not asking for the moon. I'm not asking for personnel files. Nothing like that. This is stuff that's in the discovery list. Still don't have it. Why? I've got a big red flag touched top of my name. I'm sure of it. So anyway,
Yeah,
I want.
but it's like Ashley Merchant is arguing in the Georgia open records request that she is trying to get. These are by law public documents.
That's
These
right.
are these are not things that we are asking for exceptions to. These are by law, by their own by their own, determining factors of the legal documents we as taxpayers have a right to. And for them to then try and say it's work product, it's this, it's that,
Right.
when is such a lame move. And you know what's interesting is that no records responsive to your request that we get all the time. That is apparently something they use a lot across the country
I'm sure.
when they don't want to fill or they don't want to be bothered. If you don't get the name just right, they'll just claim they don't know what you're talking about, even though everybody knows what you're talking about.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's almost like there's some sort of a class they take on how not to be cooperative.
Well, I mean, all these folks at the DOJ that we deal with records requests, they're all lawyers, all of them, as
Mhm,
far as I know. I'm not going to say every one of them. I'm going to say that the ones that respond to you are lawyers or a paralegal, so they have some legal training. Here's the thing. I'm gonna approach this right here. There was a question directly to me. Where's it at? Where the hell did it go? I know I
Is it
just
from the
saw it.
Black family about the
Uh-huh.
file?
Uh-huh.
It's just the fourth one up, Jack.
I just rolled right by it then. Oh, there it is. Yeah. What is the file about that you have requested for over 27 months now? Well, I'm not going to tell you what the file is. I will tell you that it's an audio file of an interview. And the response that I got was, we have records responsive to your request. Okay, well, give it to me. What's the
Right?
problem? Yeah, it's an interview. Give it to me. This was a very early interview that I'm asking for. I suspect that there are others that, they've made a report, but they didn't report that they recorded it. I'm sure of it. I've requested others. But again, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what all's out there. I just suspect that there's other records out there, and now they're being super careful about everything they release, and that's wrong. Just if you're not going to release the record, deny it. Just say denied and give me your 3-page legal blah 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 for why you're not going to let me have it. This delay tactic is not part of their own guidelines. It's just not. There's a new guidelines record that they come out with, but again, their overall thing in their own thing is basically within 10 days, your records request should be done, or you should have some kind of response to say it's going to take X amount of time. You know, if you got a lengthy request, which a few of mine have been numerous records, admittedly, and I know I'm going to have to wait. I accept that. But how long but they don't ever tie it to a date.
Mm-mm.
How long do you have to respond to this person? It's just left open ended, and they're taking complete advantage of it by ignoring me. Status request updates, they're ignored.
Yeah.
So the only option that I have is to hire a lawyer. I'm not going to fill out a mandamus request because that goes into. I know that Henbury waited 20 months for his mandamus request, and it got denied. 20 months.
It's,
Anyway,
That's ridiculous.
it is. Anyway, we've been here 2 hours and 21 minutes, which was longer than I'd planned. I hope people learned a little bit about Gregory Allen in this process. Question it. I don't know what it's for me. This was about letting people know more of the story because of what others had done, their work. This is Christina's work. This is Seeking Truth's work. But there are people out there that didn't know about it, and these records are available. I know that in one, and I'm going to say this before I promise I'll get it. We'll get out here after this. I'm in a chat group. It's part of the Defense Diaries. They have these separate chat groups on the different cases that they talk about. And this one began back several months ago when Ali and Bob started on their Stephen Avery analysis. This side chat group began. And the discussion lasts several days. I don't know if Travis is still here. He's in there too, about Gregory Allen and what happened in '91. And this guilter said, no, there's no way that they would arrest Allen in 2005 for something that happened in '91. But Minnesota law, yep, no, Minnesota. I looked it up. Minnesota law doesn't have a statute of limitations for this crime, sexual assault.
That's
And,
interesting they made that comment because
yeah,
the only person that would say that would be, in my opinion, someone who, as an attorney, thinks that they know what statute of limitations are for sexual assault back in 91. Because back
well,
in 91, Wisconsin had a whack-a-mole statute.
right,
No,
but Minnesota didn't.
nope. Nope, they sure didn't, thankfully.
Well, I'm going to take that back. I don't know if they looked at. I don't know what the history, and I didn't look for the changes of the history of their statute of limitations for these various, for murder and kidnapping. There's several that fall under this umbrella of no statute of limitations. I don't know when the history changed. I didn't look for that. I just know when I looked it up a few days ago, there is no statute of limitations, and he clearly was arrested, served the warrant, and arrested for this charge that happened in '91. So,
And also, um, what's his name? Gone or Fallon? One of them two are known for finding a loophole in getting around the statute of limitations. And that is if there's DNA in the case, they file a arrest warrant for the DNA, which then keeps the case open until they get a match on the DNA. Now, herein lies the rub, as I think that's how the expression goes. That's a slippery slope in Wisconsin when you're trying to protect serial sexual assaulters, because you have to determine, is there any way someone you don't want exposed could have committed this crime? Because if so, you don't want to file an arrest warrant in a case where you don't want anyone to know about it, right?
Well,
So,
I can't say you're wrong. I can't.
yeah. So that's an interesting thing to consider as well, because right before, I gotta remember, 02, 04, somewhere around there. I think it's Gone who did it, but it might be Fallon. They had solved a uh, uh, a cold case of a sexual assault because they had filed the John Doe warrant, which got it out from underneath the statute of limitations umbrella. And they used the DNA to do so. But then that kind of slapped them in the face because of the Stephen Avery case with Gregory Allen. Because you can't, you can't, what's done in the dark is always going to come to light. So, and that
Well,
case, the case that I'm referring to, that was actually a multi, um, there was multiple victims in that case. I think he saw 3 or 4, maybe even 5 sexual assaults by doing that.
yeah,
And
I don't remember.
no, but they're not worried about it in all cases, just the ones that are gonna, pad their CV and make them look good. And that's not cool.
Well, I just don't understand. I guess I probably never will. I'll question it unless something happens. I'll always have questions about how Gregory Allen was able to walk through the raindrops in so many of these cases, and even this brutal attack that they had him dead to rights on in 1991. He avoided any real punishment. He got a free ride and stay in Minnesota for a few months. He's taken right back, and he's going to be doing time anyway. They just let him serve it at the same time. Anyway, I'm going to get us out of here. I certainly would like to thank everyone that's shown interest, asked questions about Gregory Allen and his involvement and his interesting interjection into the 1985 case, which again has opened up so many other areas of his life that we found out. Certainly, any questions you might have, you can direct them in the comments. If there's a document you're interested in that you can't find, put it in the comment in the YouTube video or ask me on Discord, and I'll get it to you. I'll get everything to you that we've got, and you can do your own research if you're interested. I'll probably post a couple of these documents in that chat group on Facebook. I'm glad to discuss with anybody, whatever. But for that person to just outright say, "Well, there's just no way they would arrest him," they did arrest him. It's crazy. we've got the report. So with that said, I'm going to thank, of course, Susan and Sunshine Christina for coming. I know Doc he wanted to come, but he told me he had errands to run. It's Monday morning for Doc. It's Sunday night for us here in the U.S. and late night for our European friends.
He showed
I'd
up
like
in the
to.
chat a minute ago.
He did.
He's out
He did. Yeah, he's out there doing his thing. So
there in the evening.
anyway, that's right. Anyway, thanks again, everyone. Really appreciate it. And with that said, I'm going to tell you this has been a Foul Play production. We'll catch you next time.